presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
It is a steamy Monday in the desert, and we welcome you to Arizona for Cactus League Baseball. Bright sunshine, temperatures creeping up close to 95 degrees today. And we come to you from Surprise, Arizona. The Reds on the road to take on the Kansas City Royals. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball here on Fox Sports Ohio. We've talked so much this spring, and we'll talk more about all these talented young pitchers. We get a look at another one today. Came over from the Yankees a year ago in Rookie Davis.
Well, Rookie Davis is another one of these big, strong, hard-throwing right-handers that the Reds seem to be accumulating these kind of arms, Tom. And that's one of the strategies that this rebuilding process has gone under to do that. The interesting thing for Rookie Davis, you know, when you get this time of the spring, 14 days from opening day, every one of these outings becomes more and more important.
As it is for some of the guys that are expected to follow Rookie Davis today. We've seen Tim Adelman, Aston, a solid spring so far. Peralta looked good the other day.
Yeah, Wandy Peralta is the one left-hander in this group that they're really taking a look at, obviously. Barrett Aston has been very impressive to me. They're talking about him having a real shot at making his ball club. And Tim Adelman, of course, we know a lot about him, having him been on the mound last year as a starter and a reliever for the Reds.
All right, when we come back, we'll get this one started. The Reds taking on the Royals on a beautiful spring day in Arizona. You're watching Reds Baseball on Fox Sports Ohio. Four-year-old Reds manager Brian Price in his fourth season as skipper of the Redlegs, named to that position in October of 2013, taking over for Dusty Baker in his lineup today. Some familiar names: Jose Peraza, Tony Renda in right field, Joey Votto at first, Duvall in left, Suarez gets an out at short today, Schebler in center, Kevin Mesoraco back there behind the plate, Kiblahan at third, Rookie Davis on the mound, and a familiar foe, although wearing now a different uniform, Chicago Cub turned Kansas City Royal right-hander Jason Hamill. Ball one is high. We're underway. What a year this guy had last year for Chicago.
And it earned him a 2-year contract here with the Royals as they move forward. Hamill now 34 years old. And he's a guy that really has gotten better in the mid-years of his career. He's been with Tampa Bay, Colorado, Baltimore. And, of course, last year, 30 starts for the Cubs.
15-game winner, lost 10, 3.8 ERA, gave him roughly 70 innings. He was that number 4 or 5 guy where, you know, Joe Madden wouldn't be afraid to go to the bullpen in the 5th or 6th inning and get him out of the game. Same the year before when he was a 10-game winner. Peraza waves through the pitch, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Now, that's the pitch right there that is both the difference maker for Jason Hamill and the Achilles heel for Jose Peraza. Peraza is a real swinger up there. He doesn't like to take a lot of walks, and he wants to hit his way on base. His on-base percentage is really very much based on what he does with the batting average, and that slider can be the pitch that can get him chasing early on and get him into a run. On the other hand, it's a pitch that has really made Jason Hamill a very good pitcher here in his mid-30s.
Saw the numbers on Peraza in his 72 games with a major league club last year. He's having an excellent spring. 15 hits, most on the team, and 44 at bats, also most on the team. And has 5 runs batted in. He struck out 6 times, has not walked, to back up what Chris was referring to a moment ago.
Tell you what he does, though, Tom. He really adjusts when he gets a couple of strikes on him. You can visibly see him shorten the swing down. He takes a look to right field like he wants to punch the ball into the right field area to get a base hit. He's got good wheels. He can beat out a lot of infield hits.
Broken bat, soft liner down to third, handled by Whit Merrifield for out number 1. Not a lot of familiar names, regular players anyway, in the Kansas City lineup today. Orlando is in right field. Brandon Moss has been around the track. Mondesi, the shortstop. And Brian Pena back behind the plate.
And nice to see Brian again. You know, they had a night game last night, the Royals did, so they've given a lot of their stars who played in that game last night the day off here today.
And they have 2 of their brightest stars playing for the United States team in the WBC. Eric Hosmer and Danny Duffy will lead Team USA into the semifinals of the WBC tomorrow night. That'll be played at Dodger Stadium. Here's Tony Renda trying to earn his way onto this ball club. And he's had a really nice spring. 11 hits and 34 at bats with a home run. Has 5 extra base hits. You got to go out and earn it. And Renda trying to do that. Sinking liner. Billy Burns runs it down, 2 away. And here comes the main man of the Redlegs, Joey Votto. Now Votto, conversely, unlike Renda and Peraza, a very sluggish spring. 5 hits, 33 at bats. I'm not suggesting even for a fraction of a millisecond that that's anything to worry about with Votto. But that's what's going on so far as they put on a mild shift. That ball in the air, driven into right center. Orlando can run him down with anybody, and a quick 1-2-3 inning for Mr. Jason Hamill. Rookie Davis gets the ball when we return. now. Well, we get a look today at rookie right-hander. He would be a rookie in the major leagues. That is Rookie Davis. Last year between AA and AAA, he won 10 games with an ERA at 3.8. Opponents hit .264 against him. Chris, we later found out he wasn't nearly at full strength health-wise. So a lot of people have talked about him throwing harder this year than he did last year. He'll tell you that's because he had some leg issues last year.
Well, throwing hard is not his problem, that's for sure, because he's a guy that is a big, strong right-hander. When healthy, he'll throw that ball in the low to mid-90s. He did roll his ankle a little bit earlier in the spring, but that has not been a problem for him so far this year. Still very young. I mean, he's 23 years old, maybe 24 here in spring training. So making his way really at this level for the very first time.
Raul Mondesi, the batter. Look at Rookie Davis so far this spring. 3 games, 2 starts, 7 innings, 6 hits. There's a bunt. That'll be a bunt hit. Just stick it in your pocket. If the pitcher can't get it, you're not going to get it. So Mondesi aboard to begin the first inning on the bunt hit. The rest of the Royals lineup under Ned Yost. Hard to believe he is the winningest manager in franchise history, his 7th year. Gordon, the DH, he's a regular, signed a big contract during the offseason. You look at the rest of the Royals here today against Rookie Davis. Mondesi was called up last year, played in 47 games, stole 9 bases. He's had good minor league stolen base seasons. Nothing in the neighborhood of, 40 or 50, but 25 right in that neighborhood is best of all time. Votto will cut down the lead runner, and they're able to turn it over. Nicely done at short by Suarez, back to his original position.
That's a nice turn right here. Watch how Votto fields it, and he kind of turns towards second base rather than the spin move right there, because he throws from inside like he does so often and practices it from down there. Threw that ball right on the money.
Joey's talked regularly this spring about wanting to improve his defense. He felt like he had a down defensive season in 2016. Whereas Votto at one time was a Gold Glove winner at that position.
And for Joey Votto to make yourself a better fielder doesn't mean you take more ground balls. Doesn't mean you practice throwing the ball to second base more. What it means is that you're more aware of your defense when you're playing defense. You're more into the game defensively. You're not thinking about your at-bat, or maybe the pitcher that you may see in your next at-bat warming up in the bullpen, or the fact that you're 0 for 3 or 3 for 3. It's really having more of a defensive presence. And you compare him with a guy like Brandon Phillips, and this is where the difference is between defenders, is your mental approach. Brandon Phillips is out there thinking, I want that ball hit to me every time, and I want to be able to make a spectacular play. Not all guys think like that.
Foul out of play by Orlando. If I'm not mistaken, we saw this young man make his major league debut when we were in Kansas City. But 2015, I believe it was.
Yeah, he's one of those rare players that is from Brazil. In fact, he played for Barry Larkin in the WBC games for Brazil, when Barry is managing that team.
He's really worked himself into becoming a much better offensive player. Hit .302 last year, and on-base percentage right around .330. Can run a little bit, and just an outstanding defender. Sounded like he broke his back, and he did.
Well, he's an older player. Paulo Orlando now is 31 years old. And he's another one of these guys that hasn't really mastered the strike zone with as much as working the count, getting bases on balls. He struck out 105 times last year, and he walked only 13. Like the way Davis stays downstairs. It's one thing that that really strikes you, Tom, when you see rookie Davis and you watch Sal. Romano, excuse me. Both of those guys, young pitchers, hard throwers, but they have a really good sense of keeping the ball down around the knees.
Popped up, Votto underneath it, just on the outfield grass, and that's all. We'll get back to that when we return. We're going to talk a lot about rookie Davis today. This young man tried to pitch his way to the big leagues.
Obviously, I know the history about Cincinnati being kind of like the capital of opening day, so it'd be pretty cool. Baseball is just one of those funny games. You never really know what's going to happen. Can't really predict the future. Just stay ready for everything, and it's just an honor to get to take the ball on opening day and hopefully build off of it and have a good season.
I'm Jim Day. Earlier in the spring, Brian Price said it was going to be Scott Feldman or Brandon Finnegan. As you heard Feldman just say, he is your opening day starter. That was this morning that Brian Price rolled that out, and he has started 2 opening days in his career. So the Reds feel that perhaps he can handle the pressure that we all know comes with opening day in Cincinnati.
And Jim, he has had very good starts on opening day in his 2 prior decisions with Texas in 2010, 7 innings, 3 runs. With the Astros in 14, 6 2/3 innings, no runs. And his teams, for the record, won those opening day games. Are you surprised, as Duvall is gone, that is the decision by the Reds manager at all, Chris Welsh?
Well, I don't know if it's a decision only by Brian Price or not, but I mean, regardless of whether he's named because of Brian Price for the front office, it does give you an instant commentary, a snapshot of where the Reds pitching staff is right now. I mean, Feldman wasn't signed until late in the wintertime. He was originally brought on to be probably the long man in the Reds bullpen. And then when there were injuries in the starting rotation, Scott Feldman was moved up to perhaps a lock in the rotation, which was no problem. And all of a sudden, you're going to be the opening day starter. So, I mean, I'm sure that never in his wildest dreams, when he was sitting around in the month of December wondering where he was going to pitch baseball this year, that he would ever be an opening day starter for the Cincinnati Reds. So, good for him. He throws strikes. He's got a good breaking ball. And I hope he has a great year starting on April 2nd.
Can't wait for that. I mean, here we hit, number 20th day of March. And this one blasted into left field, but there at the wall to get it is Brandon Moss, 2 away. Philadelphia Phillies, 2nd straight year, will be the Reds' opening day opponent. They'll play on the 2nd on a Monday at 4 o'clock. They'll be off on Tuesday. We'll have the big opening night on Wednesday night, then a day game against the Phillies before the Reds will hit the road for a week and get right inside their division, taking on the Cardinals in St. Louis, And then the Pirates in Pittsburgh.
14 days away. There's that number again.
There it is.
Opening day.
Yes, indeed. Reds flexing their muscles yesterday in a win over Kansas City. That one ripped foul, and Schebler clubbed a home run in that game. Schebler has a hit in his last 6 games, 8 hits in his last 16 at bats with 2 home runs and 7 knocked in. Barring any complication at all, he will be the Reds' opening day right fielder.
I got a question, a little trivia question for you, Tom Brenneman. Who was the opening day starter last year?
In right field.
Oh, on the mound.
Raisel Iglesias.
Very good. 4 years previous to that, it was Johnny Cueto each and every year. Edinson Volquez opened 1. Aaron Harang opened 5 in a row. Then you go back to the likes of Paul Wilson, Corey Lytle, Jimmy Haynes, Joey Hamilton in 2002. And Pete Harnisch a couple of years.
Speaking of Raisel Iglesias, that was the biggest piece of news in and around Reds camp following the game and workout yesterday. How about it, Jim Day? Is he all right?
Well, we don't know. He is still here in Arizona. They are examining him today. He was scratched from a minor league appearance a couple of days ago, so we had our eyes on it. He's been complaining of elbow discomfort as well as a back issue, so it's twofold with him. We're hoping that perhaps we'll get some information after the game, most certainly by tomorrow, but when we get you the information, we'll bring it to you. The Reds, I'm sure, have their fingers crossed on that one.
Well, more than that, they have their fingers crossed and they're on their knees saying their prayers for Iglesias. I mean, they've had enough hardship to that pitching staff already, what with DeSclafani, Homer Bailey before that. I mean, that bullpen, at least the Reds feel as though going into the season, they've got, you know, 2, 3, 4 guys down there they can really count on. In the front of that list is the name Raisel Iglesias. Runner goes, and a throw is into center field. That'll be a steal for Schebler. And he'll stay right there as it goes to 1-1 on Mesoraco. Here's another Red trying to come back from injury.
I think you're going to see a little more of this year by the Reds, running not necessarily only by Billy Hamilton and Jose Peraza, but you know, some other guys that can run a little bit. Duvall can sneak up on you. Schebler certainly has plus speed when you start ranking him against other right fielders.
Suarez can run a little bit.
He'll steal you a base.
Mesoraco a total of 5 spring training at bats. He just had his first hit in his most recent game. And trying to pick up the pace and pick it up rapidly to give him a chance to be on the Reds opening day roster. It's been over 2 full years since Mesoraco has been a regular player in the major leagues. We mentioned he's played a total of 39 games the last 2 years, with fewer than 20 starts the last 2 years. Many forget that even the season when Mesoraco was an all-star, hit the 25 home runs and had 80 runs batted in, that year he was on the disabled list twice as well. He only played in 105 games. Breaking ball got him swinging. Second strikeout for Hamill. Reds leave a runner in scoring position. Rookie Davis back on the hill when we return. We're back in Surprise, Arizona. Rookie Davis on the mound. Last of the second inning, no score. Remember, Davis came to the Reds in the trade for Aroldis Chapman. You know, you look back on that deal, Chris, and here are a couple of guys, Davis and Romano, that many felt going into spring training were long shots to be a part of the big league club, but due to the injuries, all of a sudden the odds may not be so long.
Yeah, it's funny how you evaluate spring. I mean, in some camps, like the Reds camp, what you do in the spring, performance-wise, what your numbers look like, what your outings are, game by game, are very important. Other teams, you know, they're not going to say that Davis and Romano would have a chance to make the ball club at all, because there's no way we're taking a kid who primarily pitched in Double-A last year and get him right to the big leagues this year. But there are so many spots wide open on this pitching staff that, you know, it's been interesting to watch this spring, because these outings do mean something. So you can sit right along with Brian Price and Mac Jenkins, Dick Williams, the rest of the evaluators here that have come in to watch these Reds on an everyday basis, and kind of see if your judgment is paired with theirs. In fact, the Reds have one of their special advisors in town now.
Yep.
With the ball club today. Former great manager and wonderful guy, Lou Piniella. Sweet Lou's around.
It's always better when Lou's around.
It is, isn't it?
It really is.
Not a guy to mince words.
But one of the genuinely likable guys, once you get to know him and, you know, he's comfortable being around you, he is some kind of guy. You know, another guy that you get around, and you and I were visiting with him for quite a while today, and we've spoken about this in the past, but I'll tell you one guy who has such a great baseball mind, and the Reds are so fortunate to have him and have had him for a long, long time, is Billy Hatcher. There's a guy I think one day, and you and I talked about this before the game, so I know you agree. There's a guy I think that would make an outstanding major league manager.
Yeah, so why has he not been on a short list yet?
It's a good question.
I agree 100% with you. Very under the radar, brilliant baseball guy.
And did not miss by much on a full count offering to Brandon Moss. Here's Lou Piniella. We're giving him a hard time about his title now inside the Reds organization, and he showed off his past that said his title was simply staff, as if to throw it right back in our face that he's not as big a deal as we were making him out to be. We know better. Swing and a miss by Ryan O'Hearn. All right, Chris, let's walk through the entire repertoire so fans can become more and more familiar with rookie Davis. What does he throw? What do you like about him?
Well, what I like about him is how he finishes his pitches. Watch at the very end of his pitch, you see that it's kind of the wrist flip, the ball coming right off his fingertips. A lot of guys shorten it up, and they may throw hard, but I think rookie Davis, who today is throwing 94 miles an hour with the fastball, seems to have a little extra on it because he finishes that pitch very nicely. Gets a little four-seamer out of the zone there. He throws a slider and a changeup. It's not necessarily what pitches you throw. It's what pitches you can throw in a hitter's count. Can you throw that slider on a 3-1 count when they're looking for fastball? Can you throw that changeup to a really good fastball hitter and get him to swing and maybe top the ball into a double play?
Runner goes, and a swing and a foul ball out of play. Davis originally drafted by the Yankees in 2011 out of Dixon High School in Holly Ridge, North Carolina. You spend a lot of time in the Tar Heel State. Have you ever been to Holly Ridge?
I could not tell you where that is. How about you?
I don't know either, and I have spent a lot of time in the Tar Heel State, but it's been limited to, by and large, just a couple of places. You are more the, you know,
I'm the
traveler or wanderer of North Carolina.
True, that is true, but I usually limit my excursions
gated communities
to the western part of Carolina. There aren't too many gated communities out there.
You found one. And it wasn't Maggie Valley. Fastball up and in. I can never resist taking that shot. It's just too good. I'm sorry. It's a low blow, and it's cheap,
yeah.
and it's uncalled for.
I appreciate your apology.
Sophomoric, but very enjoyable.
There's one person that enjoys it.
Yeah, that's right. You. That's right. 3-1, and you asked.
Yeah.
He did throw a 3-1
yes,
breaking ball. It may not have been a slider and a great one, but it was a breaking ball.
I think it was a slider. 87 miles an hour. Started off the plate. Caught Whit Merrifield looking on that. So that's a confidence-building pitch right there. I'm glad Mesoraco called for it.
And he hits Merrifield with a fastball in the back on a 3-2 pitch. So a walk, 1 out later, a hit batsman, 2-1 with 1 out.
Just maybe trying to overthrow this fastball a little bit and just fly open, and that's what happens. That ball goes up and in, and ouch. That's the kind of spot that'll knock the wind right out of you.
Now Christian Colon. Runners at first and second base. No score. We're in the bottom of the second inning here in Surprise, Arizona. Complex shared by these Kansas City Royals along with the Texas Rangers. Very nice crowd on this abnormally warm, very warm afternoon. Temperatures expected to drop significantly. Nothing like we're having back on the home front. But the mid-90s today. They're talking high 70s the rest of the week. But it's a warm one today. All right, let's see if this kid can get out of this jam. 2-1, 1 out, and he missed inside. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Well, the batter in there right now, Christian Colon, is in a battle for trying to make this ball club. There's really only one spot open on this Royals roster. That would be second base. He's playing second base today. Raul Mondesi playing shortstop is also a guy that they're considering. Right now, Mondesi probably has the upper hand.
As many of you know, these Royals went from winning back-to-back American League pennants, a World Series 2 years ago, to a team that was exactly 500 last season, 81 up, 81 down.
But it's a ball club that has a number of really good players who will be free agents after this 2017 season.
Really the core of the team. Now ball to short. They get 1. They turn it over, and that's a double play. So rookie Davis pitching like a veteran with 2 on to get out of the jam thanks to the double play.
In Surprise, Arizona, here on Fox Sports Ohio. I'm Jim Day. My pleasure to welcome in Reds pitching coach Mac Jenkins. How we doing?
Doing well.
All right, awesome. Let's we'll start with Raisel Iglesias, if we could. I know he's got a little bit of elbow issue, and he's getting examined on his back as well. Was there something that creeped up? Was there a specific instance that this happened?
No, he just came in one morning and said it was bothering him when he wasn't pitching more than it was when he was pitching. So. And the back deal, I just noticed that when he came in, really hobbled over one day. So,
rookie Davis, he has made strides this spring. In fact, Brian Price said for the first time this spring he looks like a big league pitcher. Do you agree with that? And what are the strides that he's made?
Well, I think the first thing you see is his velocity. You know, we saw him last spring, 90, 91, and actually he pitched like that during the season. And you know, he's routinely been 94, 96 miles an hour. We've added a slider to his repertoire, and he's taken to it really well. So he's done a great job.
There's a golden opportunity out there for, well, not only rookie Davis as he steps in, but some other young guys. Amir Garrett has been impressive this year. Has he impressed you?
He has been impressive, yeah. I mean, he battles every time he's out there. He's got some life on the ball. It's good velocity, and there's a lot of deception in that motion he has.
Scott Feldman was named your starting opening day starter today. What do you like about Scott? And he's obviously a guy that's handled the opening day pressure before.
Well, that's a big plus right there. But this guy manages the game really well. You know, he's command of his sinker, cutter. You know, working on a surprise pitch for the rest of the league. You know, he's got the big curveball, so he's got new weapons.
Is there a chance that, and I know you don't make the decisions as far as who makes the club, but is there a chance for a guy like Ricky Davis, and Sal Romano has been so impressive in spring, for someone to jump up, and Sal doesn't have any experience above AA, to jump up and make this club because he's been so impressive in spring?
Well, the way they've been impressive hasn't been based on their stat line at the end of the day. It's, you know, how they've handled themselves, how well they've commanded the strike zone, and how much each guy has improved since we started, and buying in to some of the things that we're preaching here. So I don't see why not.
Tell me about Sal Romano. This is a guy that, man, he big guy and is not scared. Have you been impressed about how he has just come right after hitters?
Yeah, I mean, real aggressive, and we're getting him to control that aggression, to stay in the strike zone. And, you know, he's an animal out there. I kind of like that, you know.
Yeah, no, I like it as well. He's got some moxie out there on the mound. Guys that the Reds fans saw last year, Cody Reed and Robert Stevenson, what do they need to do to make the next step? Both of them had their ups and downs last year, but they have that big league experience, which should help them. What do they need to do to make the next step?
Well, both guys is all about their command. You know, maybe with Rob, it's the walks, and with Cody, it was the pitches in the middle of the plate. You know, walks were a little bit of an issue, but just showing better command of the pitches that they already have.
Who has impressed you as far as, I know there's, when we're talking about the bullpen, if Iglesias is okay, you're going to have Lorenzen down there, Cingrani, Storr, and Blake Wood. Seemingly two spots open. Who are some guys that are in that mix that have impressed you, bullpen-wise?
Well, the biggest surprises and impressions this year, beside Rookie Davis, has been Evan Mitchell and Barrett Austin. Both guys have, you know, pound the strike zone. They both have good movement, both very intelligent and competitive. So those two guys have really stood out to me.
All right, Mac, appreciate your time, and lots of luck. You got a lot of good young arms to work with.
That's right. We do. That's good.
All right, let's go back upstairs. That's pitching coach Mac Jenkins.
Jim Day, I think the only guy you did not ask him about was David Holmberg. That's
I ran
great
the
stuff
gamut
down there, Jim Day.
I ran the gamut.
Well, you know, there are a lot of fans, and I say this with the utmost seriousness after, you know, tongue-in-cheek the comment about Holmberg. A lot of fans don't know much about a lot of these guys, and especially, Chris, the last two he talked about.
I think it's very fascinating always to hear the coach's perspective on these players, because, you know, you learn a lot about them, but you want to really hear what the coach thinks. How is he judging them? What is he looking at that they can make a difference in? And I think it's really insightful to get a guy like Mac Jenkins up there to talk about those guys. And those last two guys that he talked about, yeah, very interesting guys that have really completely off the radar when the spring started. And it just goes to show you can make yourself kind of forefront if you start throwing the ball well.
And one of those guys we're going to see today, we saw him the other day, is Barrett Austin. He is scheduled to pitch today. The other is Evan Mitchell. Now, many of you will say, well, I don't even know anything about him. He played at Mississippi State. He grew up in Marietta, Georgia. Was a Reds 13th round draft choice in 2013. He has been used exclusively, except for one game, in his 4-year minor league career as a reliever. And last year just had an outstanding season at AA Dayton and finished at AA Pensacola, where he spent most of the year. So you heard the pitching coach himself. Evan Mitchell, Barrett Austin, two names that when most of us arrived in Arizona, and maybe many of you didn't know a ton about. And by the pitching coach saying what he just said to Jim Day, they're very much in the mix to be on this Reds opening day roster. Peraza reaches on a 2-out error by the shortstop Mondesi. So here is Rendon. And that's a one-hopper that should end the inning on the force out, and does. Ricky Davis will come out for the third. We are scoreless in Surprise, Arizona. Well, baseball is back, and you can cheer on the Redlegs. They open the season on April the 3rd through the 6th against the Phillies, presented by Cincinnati Bell. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or visit Reds.com for details. So here comes Mr. Davis. On for his 3rd inning of work. He's not allowed a single since the first batter of the game. That was a bunt hit. He has walked a batter and hit a batter. This ball is stung, but right at the center fielder, Shevlik. So the one-time Red, one of our favorite players in baseball, Brian Pena, 1 pitch and a loud long out.
Brian's in camp this year as a non-roster player. Right now, he's probably 3rd or 4th on the catching depth chart. Of course, they have Salvador Perez. Perez injured his knee in the WBC. Interestingly enough, when he injured his knee at a play at the plate, it was Drew Butera who ran into him. And Drew Butera is the backup catcher here in Kansas City. But they feel like Perez will be back taking batting practice on Wednesday. He'll be back in the game sometime by Friday. So no serious injury to the Royals starting catcher.
There's a bouncer over the drawn-in 3rd baseman and a base hit by Billy Burns, so he's available at first base. With 1 on and 1 out, 2nd hit for Kansas City.
Well, these are the kind of hits that they really bug you as a pitcher. And Burns tries to do this. I mean, he's trying to go that way because you've got the drawn-in 3rd baseman. Maybe slash it by him. As it turned out, it hit in front of home plate and bounced over his head. Got a little speed, Burns does.
Mondesi. The bunt single his first time up, swing and a miss here. We were talking earlier about the Kansas City Royals and how they still have the core of those clubs that won back-to-back American League pennants. Lorenzo Cain and Eric Hosmer. They have Mike Moustakas, Alcides Escobar. They have Daniel Duffy in the rotation. But they have made some changes. You know, they went into last year with a payroll, a franchise record over $131 million. And the owner, David Glass, told his general manager, Dayton Moore, we need to scale that down a little bit. Swing and a miss by Mondesi. So they sent Wade Davis, their outstanding closer, to the Chicago Cubs. We'll see him plenty this year. They brought in Jorge Soler in that deal.
Well, this is a team that recently was in the World Series back-to-back years.
Yep.
They did not win it in 2014. They did win in 2015.
That is a foul.
So after back-to-back appearances in the World Series last year, they just essentially drop off a cliff. They end up in 3rd place, playing even 500 baseball. They were behind the Detroit Tigers and obviously way behind the Cleveland Indians. But they feel like this is like one last shot for this ball club right now, postseason-wise, because they have, as we mentioned earlier, Tom, a lot of those players who are superstar caliber type players on their ball club, core players who will be free agents after this year. So there's speculation if the Royals do not get off to a great start, you're going to see some trade action.
And there are a lot of really good players they have, as we brought up earlier, some of the names. I mean, they've got some guys a lot of people would want.
Yeah.
And when you're going to, if it comes to that, that's where you just can't miss on trades. You cannot miss if you're going to start plucking piece by piece some really, really good players and try and reload moving forward. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Mondesi. And that's a swing and a miss, strike 3.
Well, that's a good spot for that slider. Pitching coaches will tell you, drop that breaking ball on the back foot of that left-handed hitter. That's exactly where he throws it. Now the Reds are going to go full shift on Alex Gordon. I mean full shift. Patrick Kiblahan is playing deep at first base. Joey Votto holding the runner on, and there's nobody on the left side of the infield.
Kiblahan has moved all the way over from third. And he is in between, as Chris mentioned, Votto and the second baseman Jose Peraza. Gordon, a guy they drafted #1, and they've given him a long-term deal this winter.
You know, in spring training, he's trying to get back on track. Had some injuries last year. Had a very much of a drop-off year, Alex Gordon did. But during the regular season, is there any reason why you would be so stubborn to hit the ball, try to hit the ball through the shift, instead of just taking a base hit? It'll be interesting to see how it works.
2-1 to Gordon. And now the count of 2-2. See 44 pitches here in the front, 2 2/3 for Davis. There is some light activity out in the Reds bullpen, but just getting loose. One would imagine at this point in spring training, Davis would be ready, pitch count of course allowing, to give you 4 at least today. I like what they're doing is warming a catcher up down in the bullpen more for Devin Mesoraco. And that's a bouncer right at the shortstop where he would normally be, and the inning is over. So 1 hit, 1 left. Rookie Davis working on 3 innings of 2-hit shutout baseball.
Will lead off this half inning for the Reds, coming off of not only a monstrous second half of the season, but a historic one. When you consider that he entered June hitting just .213, and those numbers in the second half makes it even more impressive. Now, Joey told us earlier on in the spring, last offseason, he admitted that he was burned out totally from baseball and had a really hard time getting back into his workout routine. He said it was completely opposite this offseason, that he was not only not burned out, but he was more excited excited to get back into his baseball routine. Now, spring at-bats don't matter to him, as we found out over the years. He's just trying to look at as many pitches as he can, but perhaps not being burned out and being a little rejuvenated might lead to a better April and May. We'll see.
Well, you know, the one thing, and Votto was the first to admit this last year, as great as he was, and it was really beyond great. That's not even a word strong enough for how good he was. Starting on June the 1st, the rest of the way through the season. But Votto is his own harshest critic, and he will tell you that by the first 2 months of the season, when he wasn't playing well, that he wasn't giving the Reds at least a chance to win as many games as they could have. Remember, they had so many games where the bullpen would blow the game, and yet the team offensively would come back and start to rally, and they showed a lot of heart even when they were losing. But, you know, Votto was really just playing absent offensively for those first 2 months when he wasn't even hitting .215. And he took it quite hard.
Well, he showed you what he can do when things go right and when he really focuses on what he can do at the plate. I mean, the second half for Joey Votto was unlike any half season I have ever seen anybody have this side of Barry Bonds.
One down, Reds still without a base hit through the first 3 1/3 against Jason Hamill, and a breaking balls on the outside corner to Adam Duvall, 2-2. An all-star a year ago, his first full year in the big leagues. And that one hit down the left field line, a sinking line drive, one down out there by Brandon Moss. 2 gone.
That ball sounded good and it went pretty good off the bat. It was a breaking ball that Adam Duvall reached for, but it, you know, it's worth commenting what one of his strategies is, and a lot of hitters like to do this, is that rather than try to go with the breaking ball, hit it away, he try to get out there and pull it. And if you get one that hangs up and you can hook it a little bit like that, you can find yourself some cheap home runs down the left field line. That one just not hit quite well enough.
Big Reds fan dialed in today. Doug Ast on the treadmill, I guess, and checking out the ball game while he's finishing up a long day at work back on the home front. And a longtime employee down at Great American Insurance, but also doubles as an outstanding basketball coach in and around Cincinnati. He helped launch that program this year for the first time out at UC Claremont. An incredible story, really. I mean, here we are in the middle of the NCAA tournament and all the big Division I powers and that kind of thing. But they had their first year ever out there this year, won 11 games, only lost 14, and excellent school, part of the UC system, but they play a legitimate schedule. Nationally ranked NAIA teams. Did that ball get Suarez, or did that get the bat?
Not with the bat. It's a tough call, really, for an umpire right there. You've got to go totally on the sound of the ball hitting either the bat or the hand. Sometimes when the ball hits the hand, it sounds as sharp as it does when it hits the wood. Of course, if it hits you in the hand, it's a hit by pitch. The hands are not part of the bat. You know how I remember that? I had an umpire once tell me, have you ever gone into a sporting goods store and seen a pair of hands around a bat up on the shelf? No. The hands
Boy,
are not
you'll hear that quoted 1,000 times, won't you, over the course of a little league or high school year?
Yeah, but even when you hear that, there are some amateur umpires out there that don't know the rule. And boy, do they get everybody all fired up when they call that a strike. Foul ball if it hits your hands.
Yep. In the dirt on a swing and a miss. Hamill very sharp today. The assortment of pitches.
Good breaking ball.
Real good breaking ball. Reds without a hit through 4. Join Fox Sports Ohio for lunch at the Skyline Chili location over at 5476 Glenway Avenue, west side of Cincinnati. That's coming up this Thursday on our march to opening day. It begins at noon. Skyline Chili on Glenway Avenue. Chris, you asked me about that finish of that story about UC Claremont. I know that your son, you were saying, has played baseball out there. I mean, that is really a quickly budding, sprawling campus out there. And you know what they did with that basketball program. Steve Ellis is the head coach. He was the head coach at Marymount High School for a number of years. Doug Ast is his assistant there. And they had the #1 ranked strength of schedule of those NAIA schools in the country. And they played at one point a team ranked #1, another ranked #9. Beat a couple of them. It's a good story out there as we're winding up basketball season. So, you know, not everybody can play for North Carolina, Kentucky, Arizona, Duke, whatever. There are a lot of great opportunities for young men to continue playing basketball, even out at UC Claremont. Bouncing ball into center field, a base hit by Orlando.
Now Davis has worked out of trouble just about every inning that he has been in, but he still looks very good out there. I mean, the base hits he's given up have been basically ground ball base hits. A bunt base hit, a high chopper over the third baseman's head. And that little ground ball up the middle is the third hit for the Royals, the only 3 they've gotten all day long.
Straight up in the air off the bat of Brandon Moss. Schebler getting playing time in center field today, a very good athlete, and makes a play, 1 out.
You think versatility is the new word in baseball when it comes to arranging your roster? Yes. There seems to be so many different teams, general managers you hear on the radio being interviewed all the time talking about, well, this guy can play infield and outfield, and this guy can come in and be our third catcher, and this guy can play all the positions, and he's a switch hitter. And some of them are even considering being pitchers.
That's exactly right. Who was that the other day? Christian Bethencourt, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, when Ricky Davis was originally signed by the Yankees, I don't think he went till about the 14th round, but he ended up getting second-round money by the Yankees when they signed him. He had a decision to make whether he was going to be an everyday player or be a pitcher.
Hot smash by Votto up the line off the bat of Ryan O'Hearn. And on his way to third, the speedy Orlando. They will wave him around. He will score. And the first run of the game comes in the Kansas City fourth inning. A double by Ryan O'Hearn.
Well, the whole thing here that if you're looking at as a Reds coach, you're thinking, why do you miss the cutoff man? The ball goes over the first cutoff man, who's the second baseman, Peraza, and then ends up in the glove of Votto, and Votto doesn't get it in time to really have a play at the plate. If Peraza gets that ball, you've got a chance of throwing the runner out at the plate. So little fundamentals like that didn't happen on that play with the Reds. We'll take a look at the play again when we get a chance. Here's the relay I'm talking about, Tom. You know, the ball goes down the corner, hits sharply. Right fielder's got to go all the way down there to get it. And you've got to hit that first cutoff man. There's no reason just to pick the ball up and fire it towards the first baseman. Because if you're able to hit that first guy, there's a chance of cutting that run off at the plate.
Well, you were talking about versatility, and that's how Tony Renn is trying to make this team. But those are the little subtleties of learning positions that maybe you're not all that familiar with, that you're going to have to become familiar with if you want to be able to get a chance to play right field as a backup outfielder for the Reds.
That's true, and that lesson really can be learned for not just for a guy who's a versatile player like Tony Renn, but I mean your right fielder too. I mean, at some point, the coach in the dugout is going to say, hey guys, you got to hit the cutoff man here. I mean, because that run in a spring training game really doesn't mean much, although it is the only run of the ball game so far. But I mean, if you're in a regular season game, in a 0-0 game, and you miss the cutoff man, it costs your team a run. It's a whole different story.
Merrifield with a 2-2 count, runner at second, one out. Let's see if Davis can just keep it to the single run here in the inning. And it's fouled away. We'll do it once more.
It looks to me like Davis has backed off just a little bit on his fastball and kind of gotten in a little better groove as far as being able to use his breaking ball. You know, you get all amped up. You're a youngster, 23, 24 years old. You're getting a spring training start. They draw pretty well here and surprise for the Royals. And you have a tendency to overthrow early on. I think he did that, but he's backing off just a little bit more. But at the same time, you're seeing the hitters again and again, and that puts a little extra pressure on you too.
3 balls and 2 strikes now on Merrifield.
I don't know if Jim Day told us yet in any of our broadcasts where Rookie Davis got the name Rookie. Kind of an unusual name, maybe not for baseball players. His real name is William Theron Davis, and he's actually the third in his family with the exact name. So when he was born, his dad said, who was also William Theron Davis, said, well, instead of calling him my name, let's just call him Rookie. His dad, a big baseball fan, and it had stuck. Oh,
that's called ownership right there, and it's also called let the first baseman, who's the best player on your team, let him handle the pop-up.
Well, Davis puts his hand up to call. I don't know if Votto actually said anything out there. Checking on Davis. I think they probably ought to check on Votto.
this is one of those in baseball that, I mean, I have to say, you know, you just kind of shake your head. I mean, you're like, this guy is 6'5", 255 pounds. That was not a collision with Joey Votto. But every single time a pitcher has any contact, they immediately come out and they have to make sure he's okay. Votto's saying, I'm the one you ought to be looking at. He agreed with you, Chris, and come on. That guy's an animal.
I mean, 6'5", 255. I mean, that's tight end material.
There's no doubt. That is a big, big man. You and I were talking the other day. We were standing there getting ready to tape the opening of our telecast over at Goodyear. And, you know, that whole crop of these young Reds pitchers came right about 10 to 15 feet away from us, and they were signing autographs right along the railing of the stands. And, I mean, you had Davis, you had Cody Reed, you had Amir Garrett, you had Sal Romano. I mean, every one of these guys, 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", 220, 240, 250. I mean, it looked like a, you know, a college offensive line. Yeah. These guys were a small college offensive line.
That
big,
doesn't
big,
make
strong
you know, size, height, weight doesn't necessarily make you automatically a good pitcher or a player, but it's a good start, especially when it comes to pitchers.
So now 1-2 on Colon, and a fastball is up and in. Davis trying to get through 4 innings of one-run baseball.
You know, we haven't talked about really is Devin Mesoraco behind the plate today. And that's probably a good thing, because if you're seamless back there, throwing the ball or catching the way he can, getting nice and quiet behind the plate, you know, he must be feeling pretty good. And that's always a good sign.
Really a good sign. And look, Mesoraco told Jim Day during our telecast, if you weren't with us here on Friday, St. Patrick's Day, that he believes, Devin believes, he has more than enough time to build up the reps to be ready to play and be a part of the Reds opening day roster. 3-2 pitch on Colon. Got him swinging on a 3-2 slider. You asked that question back in the first inning.
I like it.
And the final out reported by Davis more than likely is a strikeout on the slider. Kansas City leads 1-0.
Zone. I think that's the biggest thing, and I think that's something you can work on throughout your whole career, is just owning the strike zone, and then learning how to beat the shift, kind of a deal. And not so much as in a mindset of going up there, I'm going to hit it to the left side, but, you know, incorporate bunts here and there to take the shift away, because that's obviously something that's becoming part of the game, and it's not going away, so you got to find ways to deal with it.
Of late, Scott Schebler, who will lead off this happening for Cincinnati, has been coming on at the plate. And, gentlemen, he also talked about this spring. He's been working very hard with Billy Hatcher defensively to become a better thrower in the outfield. In fact, his teammates have joked in the past they had so much bend or arc to his throws from the outfield that at times the catcher would lose it in the lights. I mean, they've rubbed him hard about it. And he's gone to work with Hatcher and worked on his mechanics, particularly his footwork, and wants to become a better deliverer of the baseball from the outfield.
Well, if you want to get better, Billy Hatcher's the right guy to go to. So it's a veteran move for a young player, and Scott Schebler to know who he has a chance to work under and go get that work in and take that advice. Fastball by Hamill is not allowed to hit. Through the front four, misses low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike. Schebler to lead things off, then Mesoraco, and then Kiblahan. Slow roller to the second baseman, Colon. 1 out.
Boy, Jason Hamill looks extremely sharp this afternoon. I mean, he's nice, easy delivery. He's got a good feel of his breaking ball. His changeups worked. He may end up to be a very nice pickup. He signed a 2-year deal in the offseason.
If you watch the Cubs play a lot, and I'm not talking about just the playoffs, because once they got into the playoffs, I mean, the Cubs, the front of their rotation got all of the significant starts once they got into postseason play. But for a guy like Hamill, you may remember the Cubs the last couple of years. They'd go with Lester, they'd go with Arrieta. They pitch those guys seemingly every game into the 7th, the 8th inning. Complete games in some cases from both. Great years from both over the last 2 seasons. And then Hendricks joined that crowd last year as Mesoraco has his 2nd hit of the spring and the first Reds hit of the day against Tampa. But Hamill was a guy who, because he would be very effective through the front 5, maybe 6 innings, that bullpen would come in behind him, Chris, and nail down a lot of those games that he'd get the win.
Yeah, he wasn't always happy about that. We saw many times last year when Joe Madden would come out to get him in the 6th inning, and he's like, what am I doing wrong?
Right.
And Joe might say, well, we got some guys down here in the bullpen that need some work.
That's exactly right.
And that's really probably what happened.
So it's good to see Mesoraco here now. His last 2 starts coming up with base hits. That timing starting to come back around after virtually 2 years of not playing baseball at all. Saw Lou Piniella earlier. Walt Jocketty alongside, and for a lot of baseball knowledge sitting in those 2 seats next to one another. Certainly those 2 guys are in the room, Chris. They're at the table when, decisions have to be made regarding this Reds roster as we get closer and closer to opening day.
Yeah, the question is, Tom, now that Walt Jocketty is really more in a consultant's role, how much influence will he have? Will it be really the sole decision of Dick Williams, the new general manager? Who has Dick's ear? It always seems like when a general manager makes decisions, he's got 1 or 2 go-to guys that he has as either consultants or scouts, advisors. And we're not really sure yet, who fits that role right now for Dick Williams. One thing for certain, when you come to a spring training game, you look right behind home plate. The scout section is jam-packed. I mean, there are easily 15 to 20 scouts at every ball game. So despite the fact that there have been more and more, dedication by teams to analytics and sabermetrics and trying to figure out things on the computer with algorithms, there are still teams out there sending eyeballs to every game watching players.
Well, I think everybody would agree there's room for both in the game of baseball today.
Yeah, there should be.
Strike three call. Kimblehan did not like that call.
And one of the reasons why there are so many scouts at spring training games, Kimblehan thought this pitch was low, is because at the end of spring, there are a lot of players on the move. There are teams that have too many players for the number of roster spots. They've got guys that are going to, have no options left. So when you send them down, you have to put them on waivers and lose them. So you've got to scout, because I really suggest that, Tom, we've talked about who's going to be on the roster and so on. By the time this spring training ends, you're going to see an influx of some new players here on this Reds roster that are right now in other camps.
Well, that one knuckled right by the shortstop Mondesi off the bat of Jesse Winker. Winker coming up to bat for the first time in the game today, batting for rookie Davis. This ball stung.
Watch the shortstop go to his right, and then the ball curves behind him. That is definitely a knuckleball. Whew.
What have been your impressions, Chris, of Mr. Winker, a highly touted prospect, obviously, in the Reds organization? We haven't seen him play in a lot of games.
I like Winker. I really do. And a lot of people are saying, well, I mean, he's not a home run hitter. How can he play the power corner outfield and be a big time major leaguer without being a guy that provides some power? One of the reasons why Winker does not have a lot of power is because he injured himself last year, had a bad wrist. So he didn't want to sit out and not play. So he really had to develop a different way and approach at the plate, hitting the ball the other way. And they're convinced that the power will come for Jesse Winker.
Off the bat of Peraza to the shortstop, which will be the final out here in the Reds' fifth. They get their first two hits. They lead two. They trail by a run. All right, how about rookie Davis today? Chris, 4 innings in the book, allowed only a single run.
I mean, how are you not impressed with what he did today? I really thought he got better as the game went on. The Royals did not hit the ball very hard. He had enough oomph on his fastball, had nice feel of his breaking stuff. I tell you, it's the way Sal Romano is throwing the ball and the way Davis is throwing the ball, and Amir Garrett, and recently Robert Stevenson. And I'm probably missing somebody, but I mean, it's really hard to make a decision about these guys. Barrett Aston will take over for the Reds, a right-hander. Bullpen are really all the way for Aston. And he's the guy right from the very beginning of camp that Brian Price has been really impressed with. Not overpowering. But, I mean, he's got 2 or 3 different kind of breaking pitches. He's got a nice changeup, moves the ball around. And he told me before the game, I said, you call your own game? He said, absolutely.
That's what I like to.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Round of auto. And that is out number 1. But as Chris mentioned, and you heard from Mac Jenkins in his, rather brief interview down there with Jim Day, that this guy throws strikes. Throws strikes. Rookie Davis did plenty of that today. He is standing by with our very own Jim Day.
Tom, thank you very much. Another solid outing today, rookie. You have to be, how good do you feel about it? You've opened up some eyes and put yourself in the sentence.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're able to come out here and throw a good game, that's ideal. I try and not really pay attention to all the extra stuff that surrounds it. I've said it a lot, my job is to come out here every 5 days and give everything that I can. So, wish I could have had a couple pitches back here and there today, but, just working hard, doing what I can every day, showing these guys that, I'm competing and I'm going to do everything I can to help the team win.
And a new pitch has blossomed this spring, correct?
Yeah, it has a slider, which was, I think every strikeout I had today was on a slider. So I'm very pleased with it. It's still a work in progress, but it's coming along really well.
You talked earlier in the spring about this being your second big league camp, that one thing you had to overcome was shyness. Now, I know that sounds weird for the people out there, but you were too shy to ask the veterans for advice last year, but you totally changed that up. And every time I go into the clubhouse or the dugout, you were locked to the hip with either Bronson Arroyo or Homer Bailey. How much have they helped you?
Yeah, they've helped me out a lot. Homer last year was a guy that I watched whenever I was in high school. My early years of pro ball, and being in the room with him, you had the sense that he was the veteran here, and that he's a guy that I've always watched very carefully. But and Bronson, I knew a little bit about him. The guy that signed me with New York signed Bronson with Pittsburgh. So I knew quite a bit about him. Whenever we found out he was coming here, he reached, my scout reached out to me. And, ever since then, I try and have a conversation with one of them every day. Just could be small things that help you turn the corner, but, they've done a great job, and I appreciate all the information they give me.
So you're over the shyness.
Yeah, for right now I'm over the shyness. Yeah, I run into Joey today, so we got acquainted over there too.
Well, we're glad that you're all right. That's Rookie Davis. Reds and Royals back after this on Fox Sports Ohio.
Well, check out the new theme ticket packages the Reds are offering this season, featuring an exclusive item, including a Star Wars Stormtrooper, Charlie Brown, Elvis, and more. Guarantee these limited edition collectibles by purchasing the theme ticket package. Visit Reds.com/themes. How about Jason Hamill? First time we've seen a pitcher work into the 6th inning. Of course, he's barely worked up a sweat. 73 pitches through 5. And perhaps he's making up for all those times they took him out in Chicago. Humberto Arteaga takes over at shortstop for the Royals, replacing Mondesi. Grounded down to third. Off the bat of Tony Renda, 1 out. I think Hamill's ready to go. You can just pencil him in right now as officially ready for the start of the season. Big group of the Cincinnati Reds sponsors are here. Got in yesterday, and many of them getting together and watching the University of Cincinnati basketball game last night. Of course, that was very late for many of you back on the home front Eastern time, but they're out here for a couple of days. Social gatherings the next couple of nights. Line drive off the bat of Votto will go to the wall, and Joey with a 1-out double. Reds trailing 1-0, and Votto in scoring position with 1 out here in the 6th.
Sounded good coming off the bat for Votto. He splits the gap there, left center to right, or left center and center. Speculation about Jason Hamill getting through the 6th inning may not happen. Looks like Ned Yost is out there to bring in a new pitcher.
Alrighty, so we will take a break in the action. Reds have a tying run at second after the double by Votto here in the 6th. Back in a moment. The start of baseball season also means the start of golf season in Ohio. Our good friend, golf pro Jimmy Hamlin, returns on Sunday with the Golf Zone, presented by Varmint Guard, Pioneer Pest and Wildlife Solutions. It debuts this Sunday, 8 p.m. right here on Fox Sports Ohio. I know, Chris, you're a regular watcher of that show. Jimmy's a good guy.
I'll tell you what, I got he was out here earlier for when the Fox Sports Ohio had their TV sponsors out. And I got a tip from him. We all went out to play with Jimmy one day, and I got a tip from him, and has changed it completely around.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm hoping to be turning Marty Brenneman into my personal ATM this year.
It would be beautiful. I would highly endorse that. I tried that for about 23 years, didn't work, so good luck.
Al Albuquerque is the new pitcher for the Royals.
Been around for a while.
Yeah. He can be kind of a slider machine. I think that's what's coming up right here.
Slow rollers will be an infield hit for Duvall. Votto stays at second base. That's just bad luck for Albuquerque. Good luck for Duvall.
Well, it was a fastball as it turned out, low and away, perfect pitch. And just get enough of it to kill it in the grass.
Albuquerque trying to work his way back into the major leagues. Here's Suarez with a chance to tie the game or give his team a lead in a 2-0 count. And a bullet into center field. Though they wave Votto around, they will hold him at third base. So the Reds have him loaded. Double, single, single. And Schebler coming up with only one out in the inning.
Boy, what a good swing by Suarez.
Schebler, a big home run to break a tie game yesterday. And now a chance to do some major damage with the bases loaded and one out. Reds trailing 1-0 batting in the 6th inning. Breaking ball in. Good eye there by Schebler. He's worked the count in his favor to 2-1.
You know, Albuquerque is out there really because of the miracle of modern day medicine. I mean, he's had Tommy John surgery back in 2005 when he was a minor leaguer. 3 years later, he had a shoulder operation. Oh, baby.
That ball clobbered. It'll be caught at the warning track, but it'll be a sac fly run batted in. It's a 1-1 game as Votto scores. That's a good at bat right there by Schebler.
Hit it very hard. In fact, I thought it was going to carry more than it did. Kind of a humpback line drive that stayed in the ballpark, but he is right on it.
Stuart Turner going to bat for the first time since replacing Devin Mesoraco when Barrett Aston entered the game on the mound.
So after Albuquerque survives those two operations, Tommy John on the elbow, another shoulder operation, in 2011 he had another surgery to his elbow to repair a stress fracture, and they put a screw in, and it went for quite a while before he had another problem, and went back on the DL last year. But I mean, he knows the inside of a rehab room.
Broken bat pop-up will end the inning, but the Reds tie the game. Double by Votto with one out. Sac fly by Schebler. 1-1 our score.
We always
1-1 ball game, bottom of the 6th inning from Goodyear, or actually from Surprise today. It's the first time we've done a game, Chris, if I'm not mistaken, on Fox Sports Ohio during spring training that was a road game. So I beg your pardon for saying Goodyear. We'll be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
Our next telecast against the Los Angeles Dodgers. Tomorrow afternoon, again, 4 o'clock start time in the Eastern time zone. And yet another Reds pitcher trying to earn a spot with a major league club come opening day. He pitched very, very well when given the opportunity last year for the Reds, and that's Tim Adelman.
Yeah, he did. He had 13 starts. I thought he had a couple of relief appearances, but each and every appearance he had for the Reds last year came as a starter. 4-4 record overall for Tim. You know, he's one of those guys. He's obviously vying for one of the rotation spots. But if the Reds decide to go the way of a little experience, and I'm not talking a lot. I mean, he's a little bit older than some of these other players. He's, what, 29 or 30 years old now. But he doesn't have all that much big league experience. But if the Reds are afraid to, say, start the arbitration clock on some of the younger pitchers right out of the gate, you know, Adelman may get the call to be a starter in April and see where it goes from there. You know, the intriguing thing about his delivery is that he's got that little hesitation where he kind of lifts his leg up and he kind of hesitates with his glove just a little bit. And he did that really to kind of get his pitching delivery better. But as it turned out, that little hesitation with his hand and glove at the top of his delivery has had a good effect in disrupting the hitter's timing. Take another look at it.
Yep. You know, Chris, this is a topic that I think certainly bears discussing, and that is, you know, the whole start the clock conversation. And you and I were talking about this in between innings. In fact, we were talking about it before the game today. I think most people, as there's a shattered bat, that'll be an infield hit for Gordon. He wasn't trying to hit against the shift. He just got chewed up with that pitch and muscled it to the left side. Alex Gordon, his first hit. But, you know, for those that don't know what we're talking about, the bottom line is this. If you wait a couple of weeks after the beginning of a season, in essence, you're getting a full year in delaying the arbitration process of a young player. At the same time, you are delaying that player's availability to apply for free agency by a full year. And the best illustration you can think of is Reds pitcher Mike Leake. You may remember after the Reds drafted Leake #1 out of Arizona State, he came to spring training the next year and made his major league debut and professional debut at the same time with the Reds when the season began. Had the Reds waited that year, 2 weeks into the season, they would have had one more year, if you will, to have control over Mike Leake. It'd have been another year before he could have become a free agent. It would have been another year before he could have gone to arbitration. And we only bring that up because while most people, at least those that I've talked to in and around Cincinnati and living there year-round, would love to see some of these young pitchers start the year in the Reds starting rotation. The Romanos, the Cody Reeds, the rookie Davises, the Robert Stevensons of the world. Are you being very smart as an organization by waiting a couple of weeks before you bring them to the major leagues? You may remember the hottest topic in all of baseball spring training 2 years ago was the Cubs wisely making the decision, at least in this broadcaster's opinion, of waiting those couple of weeks on Chris Bryant. Even though he had led all of spring training in home runs and runs batted in, was not going to cover off the ball as Elizalde handles that pop-up, replacing Votto. So should the Reds employ a similar move with some of these young pitchers?
Well, if you're ready to contend that year and that player is a difference maker, then the teams would have a much more difficult choice. They'd say, yeah, you know, let's bring him up right now because we need him right from the very start. But if you're not ready to contend this year, why would you do that? Why would you want to keep control of your player another year if it only costs you a few weeks of putting him down in the minor leagues? I mean, it's not like he's going to get a chance to play down there and even sharpen his skills. So I think that's probably what most teams do. I just think that's a flaw in the way the basic agreement is written between the owners and the players. And I'm really very surprised that they did not address that, because the people that really get hurt the most by that are the fans. You've got a real stud player coming up out of the minor leagues, and he had a great year in the minor leagues, and he had a great spring training, and they're fired up to see him on opening day. Where is he? He's down in the minor leagues because we don't want to get his arbitration clock ticking. I think that's a flaw for Major League Baseball, not necessarily, you know, with every team. I'm disappointed that didn't get addressed.
One on, one out, 2 balls and a strike on Brandon Moss. Good breaking ball there, and Moss way out in front.
Moss, boy, he just he'll turn on that dead red. I mean, he's as good a fastball hitter as you will find. And Adelman gave him what looked like a fastball, but pulled the string.
Did it again. Doubled up. Changes everywhere for the Reds. Iribarren, Alcantara, Walker in the outfield. Still Kibble-a-hand, but Vinci, Perez, and Turner behind the plate. Elizalde over at first. Don't know if Jim Day was able to catch up with Joey Votto before he got out of here. Brandon Moss has gone on strikes. 2 are out in the inning. Jim, did the regulars hit the road pretty quickly?
Maybe Jim hit the road.
In a New York minute they got out of here. The minute they're out of the game, they grab those bags and bats and they be gone.
All right, well, you know, Jim, we're down to the final 2 telecasts of spring training. Today would make it an 0 for 3 thus far.
Well, I'm on a mission tomorrow morning to talk to Joey before the game and say, when you come out of the game tomorrow, because he is in the lineup tomorrow.
He is?
He is indeed. And we'll be on a mission to see if he will stick around for a half inning.
Because didn't he actually ask you to be on last year, if I remember that story right?
He did. He came down out of nowhere and said, hey, want me to go on with you? I'm like, sure, not going to turn it down. Let's go.
That one is truly one for the archives. All-time interviews in the history of Fox Sports Ohio. And this one hit a long way by Ryan O'Hearn. Wow. And that makes it 3-1 Kansas City here in the 6th.
Well, he hit 18 home runs last year. O'Hearn did. 7 at A ball, 11 at Double A. And he's got power to spare. Wow.
The Reds tied the game at the top of the 6th. The Royals recapture the lead on the O'Hearn home run in the bottom of the inning. 3-1 game. Drive down to third, and That'll end the inning, but damage done. O'Hearn with 2 outs, a 2-run big fly. 3-1 Kansas City.
By authority of the Cincinnati Reds, it may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Reds are trailing by a count of 3-1 after the home run in the just completed 6th inning by Ryan O'Hearn. New pitcher on for Kansas City. It was Hamill to start, then Albuquerque, and now Kelvin Herrera.
Well, you're looking at the new closer for the Kansas City Royals this year. Wade Davis, as you probably know, was traded from the Royals to the Cubs over the winter for Jorge Soler. So they brought up the setup man, a very capable young man who throws very hard.
And he is greeted on the first pitch by Kiblahan, who bangs one into center field, a single to start the inning.
Pitcher number 46,
We've seen him hit the ball hard quite a bit this spring, Kiblahan. Maybe not always for falling in.
He's got a lot of them falling in. He is now tied with Tony Renda for the most hits among all Reds this spring. He has 15 hits and now 40 at bats. 2 home runs, 6 batted in, 3 doubles and a triple.
He might be going for Doug Flynn's record. Doug Flynn talking about it. Now, Doug Flynn is one of the guest instructors the Reds have brought up from back home in his estate down there in Lexington, Kentucky.
Horse country.
But he's down there throwing batting practice and working out with the guys. Great guy, runs the Reds fantasy camp. Well, he was talking about his spring training in 1974, where Davey Concepcion would always come to camp a little bit late. And so they told him, hey, be ready to play, because Davey doesn't really get there on time. And you're going to be playing a lot, especially early on. And when the spring training was said and done, he collected 32 hits in spring training.
How about that? That's an incredible total.
Yeah, I mean, that's playing a lot. So Kiblahan's got a ways to go. Problem is, you know, you get later and later in the spring, and the regulars play more and more. By the last week of the season, they're playing nearly 9 innings a game. Those extra guys are on the backfields.
Juan Perez bats for the first time, and he has just knocked in a run. That ball blistered into the right center field gap, and it's bobbled out there. This could be 3 bases. Here comes the throw to third. It is 3 bases. An RBI triple for Juan Perez to make it a 1-run game.
Yeah, I guess you pose the question, when is 97 miles an hour hitting speed? Going to throw it on the first pitch to a guy that likes to hit the fastball. And he just drops the hammer on it. And that's how fast that pitch was, 97.
Juan Perez, 25 years young. Fastball up and in. Born and raised in California. Lives in Reseda, California. In Southern California. And played collegiately at the College of the Canyons. Reds' 26th round draft choice in 2011. You ever been to Reseda, California?
Have not.
The only thing I know about that song is it's in that Tom Petty tune. It's a long way living in Reseda. It's a big league tune.
Yeah, it is.
I better not sing it. We might get fined.
Ouch.
There's a broken bat pop-up off the bat of Christian Walker. 2 outs in the inning. That was a tying run standing there. Still is a tying run standing there at third. A lot of people don't know. I mean, they don't want to hear me or probably you sing, although you're a very good singer. But you know what, with the laws being what they are all over the country, we can't even sing happy birthday to anybody anymore. It's really a bummer. Get a Reds fan, you know, we get those letters about Reds fans, 97, 101, 103, and we've had all those through the years.
Well, maybe we ought to
write a practice of singing happy birthday, and now we're told, you know, lawyers run the world.
Maybe we should write our own happy birthday song from the Fox Ohio TV.
That is a really good idea. Great idea. I mean, you and I would be like Elton John and Bernie Taupin, or maybe like McCartney and Lennon and McCartney. You know, we could, you know, you handle the.
Or how about Waylon and Willie?
Waylon and Willie, better yet. Or our buddy Mike Reed getting together with, you know, Bonnie Raitt, Mike Reed, Neil Diamond. It's a good idea. You handle the music or the lyrics, you pick. I'll do the other. We'll be on our way. Breaking ball didn't miss by much to Sebastian Elizalde.
Well, we can work on it this afternoon. Get back to the wigwam. They have some cold refreshments there. Just make believe we're in Nashville.
It'd be great. That's good old country hardball right there. So Chris is going to get that tune warmed up. Let's get a run. They're down a run. Calling all kids, don't miss Kids Opening Day. This is going to be a really big deal this season. It's presented by Frisch's Big Boy, Saturday, April the 15th. Arrive early, enjoy a pregame block party, see the Reds along with the mascots, walk the red carpet. Kids 14 and younger receive a Kids Opening Day cap. It's Kids Opening Day, Saturday, April the 15th. Visit Reds.com for more details. We were talking about birthdays a moment ago, and Jim Day, I understand you have a birthday greeting today.
Well, Larry Herms, with Rob Butcher away, assistant media relations director.
Yes.
His daughter Eden, beautiful young lady who has been out here at spring training, turns 4 today. So happy birthday to Eden.
Yes.
Larry stands right next to me and is a proud papa.
Well, you know, Eden, I would imagine, I mean, outside of course, the biblical name in the Garden of Eden, but he also lived for a long time right around the corner from Eden Park.
Yes.
In Mount Adams. There's a bouncer down to third.
Where did Eden come from, Larry?
And there's one away in
Eden
the
Park.
Eden Park. There you go.
It came from Eden Park.
How about that?
He just verified that. So good call, Tom.
Yes. Well, I know that, you know, Larry, one of the smart guys when he was, you know, just young and out of school and starting to make a little bit of money. He decided to go up on the hill.
Kids of
Everybody in their single life at one point in time, if they live in Cincinnati, they should try, if they're able, to live up and around that area in Eden Park and East Walnut Hills, Mount Adams if you're lucky.
Sounds like you have apartments up there.
I have no apartments up there. I used to have an apartment up there. Not in Eden Park, not in Mount Adams.
Well, you were once known as the mayor of Mount Adams, were you not?
Well, I don't know about that.
You and your...
I invested heavily there.
You and Hemmer?
I don't have anything to show for it, except for a bad boiler, and that's about it. But you're a good friend of mine, friends of mine. Pat and Ed Shepard have been up there for a long, long time. 2 of our favorite spots. The Blind Lemon and the Mount Adams Bar and Grill.
No doubt about it.
Doesn't get any better than that. Our good friend Dr. Walter Brown up there at the Blind Lemon. 50 years now.
Hey, Tom.
Yeah.
I believe the song Happy Birthday is now public domain. I believe we covered this.
Are you sure about that?
I don't know. I think Chris Welsh, who's Mr. Google, should look this up. I believe a judge declared Happy Birthday now public domain. If I'm wrong, I'm sure I'll be corrected on social media.
If it's true, once we start getting those birthday wishes that come in from time to time, we're going to get back to that. I know, to the chagrin of many. Ooh, hard hit ball by Brian Pena. He has a couple of hard hit balls today, but that's the first hit to show for it.
Pena has always been able to hit. And that ball nearly goes right through the wickets. Boy, he's a fan favorite wherever he goes. Brian Pena is. All-around good guy.
No doubt about it.
He just has not been able to stay healthy the last few years. Knee problems, different leg problems. The kind of guy you really want to pull for, though.
There is very little debate about that. Used to love some of those bus rides after games, leaving wherever the Reds were playing on the road and going to the airport. And a lot of times, you have a players-only bus and you have a staff-only bus, but Pena was one of those guys who, from time to time, would get on the staff bus. He didn't mind. Sit around and talk. He loved talking football. I mean, a young man who came over from Cuba, but I'm not sure what he loves more, baseball or football. He had a chance after coming to the United States to meet Tom Brady down in Florida. Instantly became a New England Patriots fan. I mean, he can tell you everything you want to know about that team. Runner goes and safely into second base.
More with the good wheels, and I can tell you that it was a pitch out right here. So Turner had everything he needed to be able to deliver the ball, but it was just too big of a jump.
Try to catch him napping after the stolen base. Billy Burns with a count of 1-1. We're in the bottom of the 7th. Kansas City a run in the 4th. Reds tied it with a run in the 6th. Kansas City 2 in the bottom of the 6th. And the Reds draw within a run, scoring once in this 7th inning. Adelman whiffed on that ball. And that is a pretty nice play right there by Juan Perez. So it's been a good day for Perez, an RBI triple, and now a sparkling play at second base.
Well, you know, Billy Burns can really fly down the line. 26 stolen bases last year for the A's, and it was bang bang at first base.
All right, one more out to go for Tim Adelman. The second inning of work, he gave up the 2-run home run to O'Hearn in the 6th, and now he faces Humberto Arteaga. Again, a reminder, we'll be coming your way again tomorrow. 4 o'clock Eastern time. Reds and the Dodgers. We'll see Cody Reed again tomorrow. Saw him a couple of days ago. I'm sorry, I keep saying the Dodgers. It's the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. I beg your pardon. JC that game for the Angels. So 4 o'clock tomorrow on Fox Sports Ohio. Base hit and a run. 3 runs against Adelman here over the last 2 innings.
Left it right there on the inner third.
Frank Schwindel, minor league player they've brought up from camp to get some playing time here today. As Chris mentioned, a lot of their veterans played a night game last night. They had a split squad against the Reds as well. That ball in the air to the right fielder to retire the side. But Kansas City a run. End of 7. Royals 4. Reds 2.
You know, looking for athleticism, guys that can get a bunt down, that can pinch run, that can handle velocity. I think the biggest thing is we really look at hitters that can handle velocity, because quite often these kids coming off the bench are facing some premium late inning pitching, and most of these guys now are mid to upper 90s guys. So being able to come in and hit a good fastball is going to be important.
Well, we've seen the swing towards more versatility, particularly with bench players, and the Reds have some big decisions to make. They'll have to get that 25-man roster in before those first games on the Sunday before the Reds opener on Monday 2 weeks from now. And gentlemen, if you've watched spring training throughout, the second tier of players after the starters leave, I know it's spring training, but they have been mighty impressive. This is a group that battles.
Well, Jim, you're exactly right. You know, we were talking earlier about, you know, guys like this guy right here, Hernan Iribarren, who we saw for the first time last year, right around a 300 hitter so far this spring. Got to take a walk, couple of those already. We've talked about Kiblahan, how good he's been. And Iribarren with an infield hit. Alcantara, now his batting average, Chris, has not been as good as some other players, but they love the versatility that Brian Price just alluded to a moment ago. In Alcantara, you're talking about a guy that can play second, short, third, left, center, maybe right. Don't know for sure about that one, but you'd certainly bet on it. If he can play center field, he can play right field.
Yeah, you know what? I think it comes down to, at least when you make the opening day roster, a lot of times it's not whether this extra player is better than the other extra player. It's whether he has options left, whether, you know, he's out of options, whether he's on the 40-man roster or not. I mean, it's sometimes a lot easier administratively just to bring the guy who you can. You're going to lose unless you bring him up to the major leagues. And then you send the guy with options back down to the minor leagues, and you tell him, hey, this is a numbers deal. Has nothing to do with you and your ability or the way you played this spring. You'll be back up here. Go down and play hard. That happens every year.
Ryan Rayburn, Jennings, or a couple of other guys in that mix.
Non-roster guys.
Yep. And there are others. I don't mean to exclude anybody, but you could go down to 3 or 4 other guys, but those are the guys, especially Jennings and Rayburn, because they have major league experience, and they've had certainly a number of very good moments as major leaguers. Strom on the mound delivers up and away.
And you don't want one of your best young prospects sitting on the bench watching games when he could be down in AAA getting some playing time.
But that's where those players like Alcantara, and a topic you brought up earlier, and really you and I, this is a topic you and I have been talking about for 4 or 5 years now, and the Cubs really started to do it more than any team we have seen ever by moving regular players around. Saying to Chris Bryant, hey, you might be one of the game's great stars. That's all fine and dandy, but one day you might play third. The next day you might play left. You know, you've got to give us some options to also use some other nice players we have on this team. Well, it's going to be very interesting to see in Bryant's career moving forward if they continue to use him that way, because you and I remember discussing this situation when the Reds had Yonder Alonso in their system, and there were whispers in and around that, you know, would the Reds consider Votto going to the outfield? There's a base hit into right, and you know, we documented at the time that players like Robin Yount, a 2-time American League Most Valuable Player, Pete Rose, how many different positions did he play over the course of his career?
All-star, I think, at 5 different positions.
Sean Dunston, even a lesser talent than those other guys, but those are some. Ryan Braun, those are guys that, you know, were MVPs or really good players at one position that for the betterment of the team changed positions. And so Alcantara, who can play everywhere, has a leg up on some of these other players that are battling for the bench spots.
That and the fact he's on the roster.
Well said. Claimed off waivers. So the Reds are down 4-2, but they're making a little noise. First 2-1 here against Strom in the 8th inning.
Yeah, I think it's easier if you start moving those players around a little bit when they're young, like they did with Chris Bryant. Now, if you ask him after 10 years in the major leagues, hey, can you run out there and play left field next inning after playing 10 years at third base? He may look at you cross-eyed. But if you start doing it early on and they view themselves more as ball players rather than being pigeonholed into a certain position, it becomes more natural for them.
You know, the funny thing and the interesting thing of it is, you know, I remember there were some talk show hosts and some writers. Here's a little bleeder in the left field, a base hit. This is going to bring home a run, and all of a sudden the Reds 3 straight hits, and they are within one. Alcantara with a run scoring single.
Little jam shot right here, but it gets the job done.
But to finish, I thought, you know, there were some talk show hosts, some writers, even some people on the inside of baseball saying you can't think about moving Joey Votto anywhere off of first base, when there was, you know, some of that talk a couple of years ago. Votto never came out and told anybody I wouldn't do it. And if you talk to most players, they will tell you that unless they're obviously limited to being, let's say, a catcher all the time, and maybe they'll move over to first base, i.e. Buster Posey, who's done that a lot the last couple of years. But they'll tell you it's a lot more fun to come to the ballpark if you have a chance to play more than just one single position. It's a challenge. Swing and a foul ball out of play by Stewart. But Chris Bryant has really enjoyed it. Turner, a guy who is in that mix to be on the Reds. If Mesoraco is not part of the opening day roster, that's a big if right now. Turner today is 0 for 1. Mesoraco caught the first 5 innings of this game, had a base hit. And there's a base hit by Turner. They're going to hold the runner at third. 4 straight hits for the Reds to open up this 8th inning, and they're loaded with nobody out with a run home, down a single run.
Well, they're doing it against a pitcher that has not given up squat all spring. In fact, Matt Strom really is one of the top prospects in this Kansas City organization. He got called up last year, had a very good run of it over 21 games. But in this spring, he comes into this outing in the spring, he had pitched 8 2/3 innings. And he has struck out 9, given up 2 hits and no runs. And the Reds have pretty much, I can't say knocked the wall down, but they're getting base hits all over the ballpark on him. So there goes that 0.00 ERA. You know, but ERAs in spring training are kind of like SAT scores. They may matter at the time, but 10 years down the road, no one's going to ask you what your ERA was in spring training in 2017, just like they don't ask you what your SAT score was when you were coming out of high school.
I don't think anybody's interested in that, and especially me talking about it.
Probably one of those things you like to forget.
Actually, that's one of the few things academically I wasn't embarrassed by. I was embarrassed about many things, not the SAT score, though. That wasn't too bad. All right, they are loaded. And that's a fastball high and in. This is a young man who came over from the Yankees And that Aroldis Chapman deal, he was a first-round pick in 2013 by the Yankees, 26th pick overall. And he is just blown away in that event. Young man who makes his home just outside Chicago, was played collegiately at Notre Dame. And he has had a rough time in his professional career of trying to live up to that #1 hype. All right, so still down a run, bases loaded, 1 out, and they're going to let Tim Adelman bat. And that's probably a good decision. Look at this. Are you kidding me? Adelman allowed the bat. Reds short on players here today, and he has just given the Reds their first lead of the game with a 2-run double down the right field line. How about that?
And he's acting like he's been there before.
Yes, he does.
I mean, hit it hard, even though he hit it late. It's in a perfect spot over the head of the right fielder, Orlando, giving him no respect at all.
He had 4 hits last year and 21 at-bats for the Reds. It's interesting to note, though, half his hits were for extra bases. He had 2 doubles.
Chalk up another one. Gives the Reds a 5-4 lead. I'm not so sure that they're low on players as much as they will. I think they're going to let Adelman pitch 1 more inning.
I don't know who else they brought over here with them today. We were given all the guys that were going to come in to back up. All of them have, I believe, been used in this game. Outside of other pitchers. Infield drawn in. Strom having a tough time of it here today.
Still only 1 out.
Adelman, a bases loaded 2-run double. So far 3 runs here in the Reds' 8th inning on this March the 20th 2017. And the pitch to Perez, lefty against lefty. Will come back to the screen, and that'll bring in another run. Reds lead 6-4.
Extra trip up there by the Royals catcher as he was trying to retrieve that ball.
Popped up down to third base line, and that's going to drop foul.
You're going good, but you're not going that good.
That's right. Two on the way. Drilled into left center field, and I mean the Reds are lighting this young man up. Perez has come off the bench. He has a run scoring triple and now a run scoring double. And one outstanding play made in the field defensively the last half inning. And That's going to be all for Strom. 8 batters he's faced. 5 of them have scored. MLB.TV Premium is back and better than ever. Watch every out-of-market regular season game live on over 400 supported devices. Blackout and other restrictions may apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. We were talking, Chris, when they announced the new pitcher. At one time, it looked like Bobby Parnell was going to be one of the great relievers in baseball. Threw the ball about 100 miles per hour. It's too bad. Injuries have really sidetracked his career, but he's still at it.
Well, he's in camp now as a non-roster invitee. He did pitch in the major leagues last year with the Detroit Tigers. Not very much, just 6 games overall. But I mean, when he was with the Mets, one of the hardest throwers around, had Tommy John surgery in 2014, really has never been the same since.
Tell you what, though, he proved to you last year, if nothing else, that he's durable. He worked 44 games, roughly an inning per outing. So who knows? Royals giving him a shot. He's still throwing hard. Runners out at first base. Well, I don't know about that. High bouncer off the bat of Christian Walker for the second out of the inning. Ninth man to bat in the inning. Reds have scored 5 times to take the lead here in the 8th. Elizalde, the final out in the 7th inning. Struck out by Herrera. He'll take first base. Ooh, that one hurt.
Actually, I think it got him right on the belt line, and that belt can save you a little bit of pain. Get you a couple of inches above the belt, you know, that spot between your ribs and your hip. You can read the commissioner's signature on your side if that happens.
All right, 2-1, and now the man who started this entire inning. Hernan Iribarren takes up and away. Ball 1. Score the first of what has been a 5-run Reds 8th inning.
You know, Parnell is exactly the kind of guy, Tom, that a lot of these scouts have come to see today. He may be available at the end of spring training. And if these scouts tell their general manager, hey, this guy we saw in Surprise one day is better than what we have in our bullpen.
Sure.
Then you make a late spring training deal. Either pick him up on the waiver wire, you make a deal with the Royals for him.
Well, you know, the Kansas City bullpen was the #1 strength of this team when they were winning back-to-back American League pennants. Now, whether it's due to injury or, you know, trading Davis away during the offseason, there's still a lot of depth in the Kansas City bullpen. So if you're a scout, it would only make sense that if you're going to come watch Kansas City, you look at what they have available in their bullpen, because there may not be a real lot of room for a lot of these guys. There's another bleeder by Iribarren that'll turn into a hit and an RBI. And it's a 6-run 8th inning. He's had 2 of those in this inning, but both of them for hits. Zach Vinci with a single and a run scored. 11th man to bat here in the Cincinnati 8th. Reds were trailing 4-2 when they came to bat in this inning against Strom.
Oh
my God.
With a breaking ball, thank goodness.
Got him in the head, and yes, it was a breaking ball, and immediately they're going to have a look at Vinci. Second hit batter of the 4 that Parnell has faced since coming into the game.
Looks like they're going to take him out of the game.
So hopefully Vinci is all right. Now the guy's had a nice spring down here for the Reds.
Played a lot of games.
Yes, he has.
Well, maybe the Reds aren't done. 6 runs in the inning and bases now loaded again.
Well, Zach looks to be smiling down there, kidding around with some of his teammates, so it looks like he's okay. Of course, you know, when you're talking about any impact to the head, wise to be on the cautious side, and that's what the Reds are doing here. Apparently he was trying to talk his way into staying in the game. Jim Deo overhearing from his position along the Reds first base side dugout. Broken bat. I mean to tell you, the Reds are living large. Alcantara shatters the bat in about 12 pieces, and an RBI single to make it an 8-run 8th inning.
That's his second of these, isn't it? Didn't he have a blue pin his first time up?
Yes, he did. Him and Iribarren.
Those aren't bats. Those are 60-degree sandwiches.
Straight up into the air off the bat of Stuart Turner. Alex Blandino, by the way, is running for Vince Ian. One would imagine he'll just stay in the game and play defensively. Blandino, a very high round pick by the Reds out of Stanford. He played a lot last spring. He's not played at all this spring. Force out mercifully for Royal fans in the inning. An 8th spot in inning number 8 for the Reds. 10-4 Cincinnati. Well, be a part of all the major league action this season with the Reds Pick 6 plan presented by McDonald's. I mean, you're not going to beat this. You're talking about saving up to 25% off regular season tickets. You get 6 free McDonald's extra value meals. So what you do is you pick any 6 Reds home games. I mean, the Cubs, the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Indians, whatever. And, by the way, you receive an exclusive Eric Davis 30-30 dual bobblehead. Check it out at Reds.com. Orlando has gone the distance for these Royals here today. Adelman has been scored upon in each of his first 2 innings out of the bullpen. Rookie Davis very impressive today. He went the front 4, allowed 1 run. Barrett Aston continues his assault on a spot in the Reds bullpen. He worked a perfect, and I mean it was almost perfect. Everything that left his hand was a strike. Retire the side in order. And now Adelman for his 3rd inning. Gave up a 2-run home run in the 6th. RBI single in the 7th. He knocked in 2 runs himself with a bases loaded double in the 8th run 8th. Thank our co-producers today, Josh Hall and Kent Dream Weaver. Our director is Roy Alfers. Lauren White in graphics today. And our entire crew from right here in Surprise, Arizona. Again, we will have 2 more spring training telecasts right here on Fox Sports Ohio. And our next one is tomorrow against the LA Angels of Anaheim from Goodyear. Get a look at Cody Reed tomorrow. Also Evan Mitchell. That was the other name that Mac Jenkins talked about in that rather brief interview with Jim Day. Tony Cingrani, Coleman, Shashin, if we don't see him today, Blake Wood and Drew Storing. Up in the air and one away. Jim Day, how you doing down there? It's a warm one down there today, is it not?
Yeah, these concrete dugouts get to be like saunas when the sun's beating.
Where are you exactly down
on the
there?
far end.
Do we have a shot of Jim Day somewhere in his spot in the dugout?
Let's save the fans from that, Tom. We're down here at the far end. We're in Foul Ball City over here.
I got you.
Jim's been doing some radio down here so far this
Done a great job. Great job.
Now he's worked with just about everybody. Isn't that right, Jim Day? Haven't you just kind of rotated partners on that radio gig?
Did not do a game with Cowboy. Work with the Hall of Famer, Marty Brenneman, which still can't believe happened. Work with Jim Kelch. Good times.
Very nice.
Sounded very good.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
You did a little college basketball this winter, did you not?
I did a little bit, yeah.
What, up at UD?
Yep.
How'd it go?
Went all right, you know. Got to be versatile, Tom, just like these baseball players. Try to do it all.
It's a good idea. Did you do Dayton against St. Mary's?
Yeah, that was a terrific game. St. Mary's.
Two tournament teams.
Yeah, it was turned out to be a really good game. Look out.
Adam unable to. I'm hoping he was able to deflect some of that before it got him. I'll have to take a look. He's clearly in some pain. He works a perfect 8th inning.
He puts his paw on the window, and he's literally like going like this. And she's like, we got to see him. We got to take him out. So she takes him out. We'll play with him, you know, and he got attached to me really quick. He's here now, and he's like, he doesn't leave my side at all, and, you know, he's a good dog.
That is Amir Garrett talking about his dog Dozer, who we got to know, and how near and dear it is to his heart to rescue pit bulls. And you'll see the story coming up as you look at the programming over the next few days here on Fox Sports Ohio. On the newest edition, Wednesday at 6, you'll hear more from Amir Garrett on Reds Weekly about rescuing a pit bull. And it was right from the get-go. He made a connection with Dozer, who's now 8 years old, had a troubled life before he was rescued by Amir, and good stuff, and good by him.
Well, Jim Day, that's great stuff. And as a guy myself who was on the board out at the SPCA Cincinnati, I can tell you I was just out in the Coleraine location last week. My wife and I went out there with Harold Dates and Lori Fenner, and they have a lot of those pit bulls out there that are just incredible animals. It's easy to, you know, say one of them's like this, they're all like this, but that's just simply not true. Not true at all, and Amir Garrett would be the first guy to tell you that.
Very loving dog.
Yep.
And gets along well with his other roommates. And is best of friends with Coco, a French bulldog, Robert Stevenson's dog. So you couldn't tell that this pit bull had a rough life, and they get a bad rap for being bad dogs. But this is a very lovable dog. Has its own Instagram page, Dozer.
That's great stuff. Now here's a young man, Chris, left-hander Eric Stout at Double-A Northwest Arkansas.
Well, a young man that went to Butler University over in Indiana, and he was the 13th round pick for the Royals in 2014. Graduated from St. Francis High School near Chicago, Illinois.
I thought for a moment, and I am drawing a blank on the young man's name. And I know Mike Cameron, our good friend and legendary former Moeller High School baseball coach. I'm thinking of the left-hander who pitched at Moeller. Was the #1 pick of the Giants.
Eric Surkan.
Okay.
I taught him a curveball when he came to one of my curveball clinics when he was about 13 years old.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss by Chad Wallach, and Stout is retired the first two batters. Both on strikes. What's he doing now? Because he ran into some injury problems, if I remember right.
I don't know. We can look that up, though. Really great kid. Well, he pitched in the big leagues with the Athletics last year.
Yep.
Also pitched in Korea, or at least he was listed as being part of the Korean majors. And that's where he played last year after July when the Rangers released him. And I don't know where he is this year.
Very impressive inning from Stout. Retires the side. All on strikeouts. it's nice to know somebody here in Surprise was able to pick up the iPod or the music library of Chris Welsh. Got a little culture club going here.
To welcome in the new Reds left-hander, Wandy Peralta.
You don't want to listen to any more Boy George here?
You know, I think you could probably find a little Boy George on my.
You know what?
My
They
no
had
doubt
some good
about it.
tunes. They had some good tunes.
God, talented, man.
No doubt about it. I actually, I saw him once at a restaurant in New York City one day. Almost fell out of my chair. All right, so Peralta, here's a guy, and we've talked about him, Chris, already when he was so impressive our first telecast last Tuesday.
Well, he had to pitch a couple of innings in his last start. He's been excited about that because he can break out more different types of pitches. But the Reds really have maybe room for a left-hander in their bullpen, and maybe Peralta's the guy that could fit that bill. Right now they've got Tony Cingrani, and that's it. Peralta's got plenty of arm. I mean, he throws mid-90s. That first pitch he throws is 96 here in the 9th inning.
All right, so the Reds leading 10-4, but Peralta still wants to be sharp and go out there and take care of business, picking up the final 3 outs here in the 9th inning.
You know, the one thing we haven't mentioned, Tom, today, that all the Royals this year will be wearing a black patch on their uniform. They're wearing them right now.
Knocked down the bare hand out there. It's a pretty good play.
And that black patch is prominent right on the front of their uniform, and it says Ace 30. As this ball lays down the little Kevin Mitchell action by Iribarren. And of course, that is to honor the very tragic death of Giordano Ventura. He would have been the ace pitcher on this staff, only 25 years old, killed in an automobile accident January the 22nd in the Dominican Republic. And just a shocker, this entire team and whole organization just reeling from that loss.
We saw that young man, if you remember, Chris, we were in Kansas City 3 years ago when they first brought him up to the major leagues, and what at the time was 22, I think. And you saw that note down at the bottom there about how his average fastball was 96 miles per hour. That night, I don't know if I've ever seen anybody pitch a better game than he did that night against the Reds. Boy, what a talent, what a tragically sad ending. So young. I think the entire, or at least the video looked like the entire Angels organization went down to the Dominican, or the Royals, I'm sorry, went down to the funeral in the Dominican, and there's video of Ned Yost being down there, and of course so sad.
That is Peter O'Brien at the plate, and they say this young man has as much power as anybody in their camp. A lot of that power goes to right field.
Three and two the count.
Took a little bit off, and someone nearly screwed himself into the ground. Well, that's a good pitch. This is really what intrigues you about Peralta. Now, they've got him figured as a bullpen guy, but boy, a left-hander with a changeup like that, you can get anybody out with it. What he has not really developed is a great slider yet, and that's their pitch right there. They're working on it. But I mean, if you start with a 96-mile-an-hour heater, And then an 84-mile-an-hour, very effective changeup. That's a pretty good start.
There's that change up on the outside corner, a strike to Terrence Gore, who came on to run for Brian Pena after he had a base hit. Gore wound up stealing a base, scoring a run in the 7th inning. Reds an 8-run 8th inning and a 10-4 lead here in the last of the 9th. 1 on and 1 out. He's not afraid to throw that changeup either. There's a lot of confidence in that pitch.
Well, he threw it on a 3-2 pitch. You get a strikeout in this first out of the inning.
Came back with a fastball in the dirt. And once more a 3-2 count. Already threw 3-2 change up to the right-handed batter that struck out the last hitter. Does he go 3-2 change on Gore? Yep. Now you raise an interesting point here. At his age, I don't know. You would know better than I would. I mean, that seems like it's the making of a good starting pitcher here. I think that's what you were kind of alluding to a minute ago. But what I was going to ask you was, and I'm piggybacking on what you're saying, but now a question in that this is something we talked about for a long time the other day about, do you need 3 pitches really to be a starter? And really it depends on what are your other 2 pitches. He clearly has 2 better than average pitches already. Would it be enough to continue starting for him?
Well, I think normally what happens when you're a left-handed reliever is you've got a little sloppy breaking ball in there that neutralizes the big lefty on the other team. And nobody wants to hit off that guy, like a Javier Lopez, who just kind of flings it up there. And there's one of the minor league coaches with the Reds who did that for a long time, and Tony Foss.
Your old buddy, college buddy.
Yeah, and Foss's is very high on Peralta. Been working with him on a slider. But I'm not so sure that the fastball changeup gives you an advantage as a left-hander that a fastball sweepy slider would give you as that left-handed specialist.
Right. In the air, that'll fall in, a little blooper into center field. So the Royals not finished quite yet. Runners at first and third with 2 away here in the bottom of the 9th. Arteaga, a run-scoring single in the 7th inning. He came on to replace Mondesi, who started the game at shortstop. If you weren't with us earlier, we'll have the game tomorrow right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Swing and a miss on a changeup again. Game starts once more at 4 o'clock Eastern time. There's now a 3-hour time difference between Phoenix and Cincinnati. They never change time out here in the Grand Canyon State, so I guess technically by definition they are on Mountain Standard Time, but in terms of separation, for all intents and purposes, they are on Pacific time right now. understand the weather was pretty rough this morning back in the greater Cincinnati area. Hailstorm in and around the area. Swinging a foul ball back out of play. A lot of rain tonight. But hopefully better weather is on the way for those of you back on the home front. Ground ball, and that will dribble into center field. A 2-run single by Arteaga makes it a 10-6 game. So 2 away here in the Kansas City ninth. And that's in the air. And this should wrap this one up, and it will. And it's all day to get it. And Peralta records a final out. The Reds score 8 runs in the 8th inning and rally to beat Kansas City by a final score of 10-6. So we'll look forward to seeing each of you hopefully again tomorrow. We'll be on the air at 4 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Ohio. The Reds and the Angels from Anaheim for